Hello, Stitchers. Welcome to Stitch Please, the official podcast of Black Women Stitch, the sewing group where Black Lives Matter. I'm your host, Lisa Woolfork. I'm a fourth-generation sewing enthusiast with more than 20 years of sewing experience. I am looking forward to today's conversation, so sit back, relax, and get ready to get your stitch together. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am delighted to be speaking today with Lisa Shepherd Stewart and Fabrigasm. That's right. I said Fabrigasm on the internet or on the podcast. But I think this can still count as not adult language because Fabrigasm is a magazine and now a virtual event and the brainchild of Lisa, who not only has a long career in the textile, fabric, and fashion community, she is also the owner of Cultured Expressions in Rahway, New Jersey. So Lisa actually does it all. She was doing virtual stuff before we had to. She was doing all sorts of creative programming, and now her latest venture is Fabrigasm, a live virtual event for lovers of African textiles. Welcome, Lisa, back to the program. Hooray!
Thank you, Lisa. Good to be back.
I am so glad for us to be having this conversation today. So let's start with talking about Fabrigasm. Mm-hmm. Where did the idea for that concept come from?
It actually started with, I have this little hobby of when I have a really good picture, like from a friend, I'll make a fake magazine cover. And magazine journalism was my favorite class at FIT when I studied marketing many years ago. So I was always into the whole magazine thing. So when I get a really pretty picture, like I said, a friend or whatever, I would convert it into a magazine cover and put like fake titles. It was just kind of a fun thing, like coming up with the title of the magazine and all that. This goes back years, like a little hobby. So I was with a friend. I did one for her because she had a whole gardening theme and whatever it was. And I started thinking about fabric, and I thought about Fabrigasm. And we had used that word loosely, back and forth, just like, when you see a beautiful fabric, you have a Fabrigasm kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so people kind of get it when they hear it, especially if they're fabric people,
Oh, yes. That was wonderful. So when you see a beautiful fabric, you have a Fabrigasm.
You do, well, and it's the feeling that you get. It's that, like, your heart races a little bit.
Yeah,
it's
exciting.
Imagine what it's going to become, and it's a Fabrigasm. I mean, I'm not sure how much explanation it really needs.
But that is all it needs.
Yes,
I absolutely love that. I love that.
Right.
So it seems to be motivated by play and happiness.
Right.
Because you were playing around with the idea of magazine covers, mm-hmm. because that was a way to, that was, like you said, one of your favorite classes at the Fashion Institute. Right. And it was also a way to preserve a memory. So if you and your friend had a great photograph or something, and you put it in this almost like a magazine tribute, it's a way to preserve and honor that memory. Right. And then it's just really fun to see afterward. And I have had Fabrigasms, and I think that many people who are listening to this podcast today will have had them as well. Of course. Because it just turns to absolute obsession. Of course. That's the reason that I have so much in my hem collection, because I develop very strong feelings about them.
Right.
So what did you want to share with the world when you decided to transition Fabrigasm? Well, we decided to build it as an actual magazine. You had been spending time creating these magazine covers for friends and families based on wonderful photos. How did you make that leap to saying, you know what, let's do a real whole magazine?
Well, you know what? That was at work. And also another thing was that I had done the 3 books. The last one I did was 2007. I did African Accents on the Go, which is a handbag book. And then I guess around 2010 or so, I wanted to keep writing because I'd always been a writer too, in addition to the fabric addiction. So I didn't really want to write another book because that was a whole huge commitment. I said, maybe I could just do a little magazine. And around the same time of this whole Fabrigasm, fake fake name kind of thing. I was like, that would be kind of a cool, like, cute name. I could do a little magazine. It'll come out literally when I have time. It's not a subscription thing because I wanted to maintain the fun for myself. And it just kind of, I said I could just do a little quick magazine, and I did, the first one was free. I just did like a digital version, and I printed some, and just to see how it would go, and it was well received. And I thought, this is kind of fun. I could kind of put it out when I have something to say or projects to share, and it just kind of went from there. So that was in 2012. I did the first issue.
That is amazing. And I really like how you have found a way to work in a way that is organic for you. You aren't motivated by, let me see how much I can push. You're saying, let's see what makes sense for me and for my schedule. And then you can pour your heart into it, as well as your creativity and your writing skills, and produce something really beautiful. I got my copy a few weeks ago, and it is really lovely.
Thank you.
It
Yeah,
is
issue number 7
absolutely
came
lovely.
out. Yeah.
Issue number 7, y'all.
Now, if you're doing the math, the first issue was 2012, and this is number 7. So there's some time in between. And most of that time was between issue 6 and 7. That's when I opened the studio in 2017. So I didn't have time literally to put out an issue. But the end of last year, I really felt like I wanted to end on an up note. So I pushed to get one out, and just, had some things to share. So it's like I said, it comes out when it comes out. And it's just, to me, it's more fun that way too. It's just like, oh, there's another one, so.
Yeah, it's a surprise. Right. It's sporadic. Right. And whenever it comes out, it's good.
Well, thank you.
Whenever it comes out, there's something useful there, some things that I didn't know before. So I think that's perfect. It's just as it should be. Right. That you aren't driven by anybody else's schedule or requirements.
Right. And I think that's what helps me keep it interesting for myself and for the readers, is that I'm not just pushing things out because of deadline and I have to do a quarterly issue, and I don't want to have that pressure. It's not fun anymore. So hopefully the fun comes through because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. It's not like a pressure thing.
Yes, absolutely. And the idea of creating a project, a physical product that's motivated by your interests and all the things that you have accumulated and learned over a certain period of time that you then transform and share, it's just really powerful. Yeah, I think that really is. And it's a great model for everyone, I think, about how to manage one's own creative time and energy.
Very much.
And of course, it would make sense that there would be a gap between the issues that happened when the studio was first opened, because that took a lot of your time. You might recall it took a lot of your time.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned that back in episode 26, I believe you were in on the podcast. Episode 26, y'all. It's a great episode. So I've included the link in the show notes.
Okay.
So do go back and check it out. We had a good time. But you were talking about all the time it took, between like finding the perfect space and making the perfect space even more perfect. You couldn't do it all, and no one can.
Right.
And so I really think about that gap in between as a space of growth, because your project absolutely fundamentally grew once the studio was open.
Definitely.
So yeah, exactly. And you are one person. You are one person who is doing amazing things, and you are not a machine.
Right.
You are not a machine, and you don't want to be a machine.
I definitely don't. That is not the goal. The goal is for me to have fun, and if I can make a couple bucks in the process and share what I do, great. So that's kind of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I think that's fantastic. So in terms of the magazine, when you look back at the issues that you've produced, what are some of your favorite things that you have shared? What were some of the favorite stories that you told? If you look back at the history of your magazine, like anything favorite that just kind of stands out to you? I mean, I'm sure you don't have all of them sitting in front of you right now, but like, is there anything, and which is perfect because I'm not asking you to look it up.
I can't cheat.
You don't. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to go back and study. It's like interviewing folks. It's like, how do I prepare? I'm like, well, you've already prepared. You are you.
Just be you, right? Exactly.
Yeah, just be you.
Right.
So, but does anything stand out throughout the years that you've been doing this that's like, you know what, I was pretty happy about that, or I was really proud of that, or that didn't turn out like I thought, but I thought it was also good. You know what I mean? Anything like that?
There's probably the most obvious, I guess I say obvious one is, and I can't honestly remember, I think it was issue number 3, was a larger issue than usual. They're about 28 pages with no advertising, so it's chock full of stuff. But this issue was 36 pages, and it included the exhibit that we mounted in Ghana. We did a fiber art exhibit with the people that went on the trip with me that year in 2013. And so in that issue, I really wanted to have a keepsake kind of thing. I said, I'm going to fold that into the Fabrigasm magazine. that was coming out, and so we had pictures of each piece that was displayed and the description, like a little, almost like a catalog when you go to an exhibit.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was very cool. It was again a lot of work because I came back from Ghana exhausted, with the trip and the group and there was a lot going on, and I said I have to get this out. So I was running on fumes, trying to get the issue out while it was still fresh and relevant and all that. And so that one really stands out because it had a lot of different artists in there, and their point of view, their pieces, and kind of recap the whole Ghana trip. So that was probably the most special one, I would say.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, it was a
Thank you
lot.
so much.
That was
So that's
powerful. It was a lot.
issue 3, 2013, y'all. And what I love about it is that you are doing exactly what the magazine promises. You are bringing African textiles to the world and to the community who loves fabric.
Right.
And I really think that this commemorative issue from 2013, that also, I think now, especially since we are all, well, not we're all, I am pretty tired of being like isolated and not going anywhere because this episode is being recorded, y'all, in 2021, and we are at the heels, hopefully, of a global pandemic. Hopefully, COVID rates are going down, things are starting to open up. So I was just saying that to have access to a 2013 magazine that went over an international trip and could preserve those memories, because there's no way to remember every single thing.
Right.
But when you read through the magazine, you can say, oh, yeah, I remember that piece. Or I remember when she said that. Or I remember when he mentioned this point. This is really great. It's just another way to bring people into the larger community and the larger questions about these beautiful, beautiful fabrics. So that's wonderful.
It was really fun. Yeah. So, and aside from that, I think I like each issue better than the last one, which again is kind of like a little goal of mine. I want to kind of not top myself, but I want to feel as excited about that as I did about the first issue, and have new things. And I'm always finding new things to share, so it keeps it fresh. And it's just, I mean, there's always a different. Obviously, the cover colors I always try to pick. Next one has to be some greens. I haven't had green in a while, so.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah, it's
okay.
fun.
I love it. Okay, so I was going to ask about if you had any advice for someone who wanted to do a magazine in the way that you have. It seems like such a major undertaking. Like, how? Like, I don't even understand how one even does this. And then you mentioned no advertising. I was like, oh my gosh, wait, what?
Yeah, and I tried to do some advertising, but then I thought to myself, that's going to lock me into, again, that structure that I was really trying to avoid. Like the creative side of me didn't want to have that pressure of the advertiser and how many issues. It was more than I wanted to do. And again, being a single entity here, I just really didn't want to take that on, even before the studio. So I just said, I'm just going to keep it, simple and chock full of stuff. It's $8.95, which sounds like a lot for 28 pages, but again, with no advertising, it really is chock full of stuff. And I have people that get every issue because they enjoy it.
Yeah.
So as far as tips, I mean, I like to write, so I think you kind of have to like to write. So if you have that under control, you're good. And I say that because the more you can do on your own or for yourself, the fewer people you have to involve, and it's in my mind, it simplifies it. Like some people like to have a whole team, and for them that simplifies it. Sometimes, depending on the project, I just rather just do it myself, and so it's a personality thing, I guess. I don't know.
But I also love what you're doing. Is I just cannot stress enough how wonderful it is to have you as a Black woman artist, as a Black woman who is committed to textile art and to fiber arts and needle arts, who is doing and living a creative entrepreneurial life on her own terms. It is rare. It is absolutely rare, and it is precious. And what really inspires me is that you know that your time is rare and precious.
True.
And you're like, you know what? I'm not going to run myself ragged to bring in buku bucks of money, or I could do more and make more money. And it's like, but money isn't going to help buy your time back.
Right.
There's no amount of money that can value your time. None.
Exactly. Too, just contentment.
You cannot put a value on contentment.
Right.
Yes.
And you can't get your time back. I mean, time is, and the older you get, obviously, the time becomes more precious, and you really begin to realize, how do I want to spend my day today? What do I want to spend it doing? And that really helps me decide a lot of things. just quite literally, how do I want to spend my time? And if I find I'm spending my time on something that's like dumb or whatever, I have to get myself out of it because it's like, look, we're losing daylight.
Yes,
So, and
yes, we
I don't say it to myself in a frantic way, but I just really bring myself back to, okay, what do I want to do? Even if it's just fun, even if it's taking a nap, if that's what I want to do, I want to feel like that's the moment that I'm in, So
yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
I mean, and I really do think that this is wonderful because it has helped, at least it's helped me. And that's one of the things I've enjoyed about developing a relationship with you
Hmm.
is that it has helped me to understand that I am absolutely right to draw whatever boundaries around my life that I feel like drawing,
Yes.
and that I don't have to do anything.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if some, business model thing says you have to have this XYZ output, or you have to make sure you're niching down to do blah, 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 blah
Yeah.
business.
Right.
Like,
I
oh,
know. And, I've
that's
been
not
in business for
fun.
20 years. My first book came out in 1999. And after that, I formed Cultural Expressions. And I have never written a serious business plan. Now
Wow.
maybe people, that's not the thing to say, but I've tried to sit down and write one, and and I've kind of it just didn't fit the way things happen for me. So I don't know. I mean, there are different approaches, I guess, for different people. I just kind of feel my way and do things and take some risks and try some things, and not everything works out, but the things that do, great. But I don't think I've
That's
ever really
right.
written a serious business plan. So
And I think for me, and I'm sure that business plans, that's one thing. You
mhm,
could write a business
right,
plan. You could hire a consultant to
right,
work on your business plan.
right.
But what it seems to me that you're engaged in is meaningful life's work.
Hmm.
Meaningful life's work. And that is something that is going to come from you and you alone.
Right.
And that to me seems incredibly important, that you are able to follow a path that is healthy for you, that is also thriving and amazing. Like this isn't small. This is robust and
Hmm.
it's intricate and it's beautiful. And so I just think it's fantastic.
Well, I
So
appreciate that, Lisa.
I do.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about this event. We're going to take a quick break, y'all. But when we come back, we are going to talk about what it means to transition a magazine into an experience. Stay tuned. Black Women Stitch and the Stitch Please podcast are happy to announce that we have another way to connect with our community. In addition to the IG Lives that we do every Thursday at 3 p.m., we also now have a club on Clubhouse. That's right, friends. They done messed up and given me the chance to have a club. So follow Black Women Stitch on Clubhouse on iOS devices and soon on Android, and we'll help you get your stitch together. Welcome back, everybody. And I am talking today with Lisa Shepard Stewart of Cultured Expressions, as well as of Fabrigasm, the magazine and upcoming live event. So I wanted to ask, what inspired you to transition the story you just shared about Fabrigasm, the magazine, into a live virtual event that will be, y'all, in 2 weeks. May 1st and May 2nd is when Fabrigasm Live is going to be available for you to hop in. So
Yeah.
can you tell a little bit about that, about what made you think, let's see how we can move this in a different direction and make it more participatory?
Right. Well, you know what I noticed when issue number 7 came out? Well, let me go back. When issue number 6 was out in 2017, I wasn't as involved with Instagram and all that. I built up a lot of that since then. And so I ordered, when I did number 7, which came out in December, I ordered extra issues, and I was like, I want to be ready because I figured there would be more people. I had a little bit more of a base, and I just want to kind of be prepared. And just like a little test to myself. So I ordered more to see if I could actually sell the more that I ordered, But I did that. And I also, in the back of my mind, in the before times, like pre-pandemic, I had it in my mind about doing something regional, like a regional in-person live event and bringing in speakers, the kind of things you'll see in a couple of weeks. And with the pandemic, I thought, well, maybe I could flip it into a virtual. And I was thinking about names, and I thought the natural name would be Fabrigasm because people had, with the new audience from Instagram and just new customers in general, I just felt like that would be a nice kind of umbrella term, Fabrigasm, and Fabrigasm Live, basically. And I kind of flipped from the idea of doing something in person to doing virtual. And it just started to kind of come together in my head, and I just started planning it. And then I hit my A list and B list of people. And here we
Excellent.
are.
I'm
Yeah,
not going to ask which one I was on.
you were on the A list.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that affirmation. I was gonna put myself on the A list regardless
Right,
because
right.
I'm an A list kind of bitch. That's the kind of person I am. I'm just in general. Um,
Absolutely. So yeah, you were definitely A list. Yes.
this sounds wonderful. So tell us what we can expect if we sign up for Fabrigasm. That's going to be in a couple of weeks.
Hmm.
What can we expect over those 2 days, Saturday and Sunday?
Right. Well, I'm using a platform called hopin.com. It's HOPIN. And they're doing, a lot of virtual events for all kinds of people and companies and organizations. So I located them after a long, exhaustive search of how to make this happen in an affordable kind of way. And so I put together 2 days of events, panel discussions. We have presentations from fiber artists. We have creative demos. We have an opportunity to socialize called creative critiques, where you can actually come in live. You can show yourself on camera and be live and get feedback from the group that's in that particular session about your work. Say you have a quilt and you're like, which border should I put? That kind of thing, just to have an interactive kind of component to it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Those rooms you can have 8 people at a time, and they can switch out within the half hour. So you can have somebody come in and come off and somebody else come in, and 500 people can actually watch it. So you have the 8 people live at one time. We'll have a moderator to kind of keep things moving. And it'll be a nice way just to either show your work if you just feel like you want to get some praise for this new bag you made, or if you want to, get it some technical, assistance or whatever it is, input, just like a fun, creative way to find new peers and connect. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. We have some vendor booths, and you can actually sit while you're listening to the sessions and do your sewing or just sit and relax or however. I structured it so that you can actually do everything. There's nothing running concurrently. So the whole schedule, you can actually follow through the whole schedule and you won't miss anything because everything's kind of layered, like, the schedule's layered like that. It's just a way to connect the readers and people maybe who even have never heard of the magazine, but it's really just a way to celebrate African fabrics and to, get some practical help with them, or whether you're a quilter, a sewer, a crafter, home decorator. I have a young lady that's doing head wraps. So you can grab a yard of fabric and wrap your head along with her. We're going to have that as a demo.
Oh,
Just like
wonderful.
a lot of fun stuff. And the panel discussions will be interesting. We have one called quote unquote African quilts and the politics of patchwork, which is going to explore why African quote unquote African quilts, if you can even define that, what they are and why they have such a powerful impact. So we have a panel on that. And then the other panel is the future of indigenous techniques. So we're going to be looking at traditional fabrics, African fabrics like kente and a lot of indigo work, bark cloth. Talk with artists that are masters in those fields, and how are we going to bring them to the next generation and continue them, because they are indigenous, and sometimes you know how things happen with indigenous techniques. So we're trying to
Yes,
see, what we
yes.
can do to keep them alive, keep them thriving. So those are the two main panels. And then we've got some other, like I said, artists and fun stuff.
It sounds really amazing. And just looking at the list of presenters that you have, it
Hmm.
does indeed run the gamut from fashion, home dec,
Right.
quilting. Thinking about someone like Jacqueline Shaw, who
Hmm.
has the African Fashion Guide that she runs out of the
Yeah.
UK. She also runs a wax and wrap subscription box. So she does a little bit of both the fabric vending, but also I think one of her major contributions is the African Fashion Guide. So she's paying attention to these
Definitely.
trends and is in such an excellent
Right.
position to have these conversations.
Right. Now on Saturday, actually, while you mentioned Jacqueline, on Saturday, she and I are having a discussion called Passion to Profit, creating a business around African
Nice.
textiles. Because we both get a lot of questions on that. So if you're looking to start a business, there are so many different ways to get into it, whether you're making products or selling fabric or whatever. We'll have a great discussion with her. I know obviously she's the perfect person to speak to on that. So I'm looking forward to that. And we just got a lot of really
You
fun
really
stuff.
do.
So on Saturday evening, I'm doing a demo called Mudcloth and
Oh,
Mimosas. It's
nice.
BYOB. So it's gonna be like just some fun things to get together and hang out and learn something new and just vibe.
Mudcloth and mimosas. Yes, please. You know what?
Yes.
It
Yeah,
does
it sounds
sound fun,
great.
and I like the creative critique and that you're bringing in actual artists and quilters who also teach. So you're talking
Yes.
with Carol Lau Shaw and Kianga Janyaki. Like,
Mm-hmm. Janaki,
she's
yes. Mm-hmm.
awesome. Actually, she lives in my hometown. I don't know why we never met each
Oh,
other, but
really?
I know she's
Okay.
probably lives 10 minutes from the house I grew up in. Yeah.
Really? I just spoke to her
Isn't that so
yesterday.
a
That's funny.
small world? This is a small world. That's why you gotta be nice to
Yes.
people. And
Yeah.
so what I like about this is that it allows people multiple points of entry. And so if you're not a quilter, but you're interested in home dec, then we could talk about that. If you don't know much about what an indigenous technique of fabric dyeing is, now you get a chance
Hmm.
to learn about that and what we can do to preserve these lost
Right.
arts before they're all gone. All of these things
Exactly.
I think are such important and fun conversations. So it's a mix of both. It's the learning, it's the practical, it's getting a critique and support and all of these things. I think that's
Exactly.
wonderful that it's deeply interactive as well as allows people to like sew along while you're doing something. Like that's I think that's
Right.
really wonderful.
Right. You can just take some time to sew for yourself and just listen in and watch, and it's just like a whole little sewing week. Well, creative weekend, I should say. Not even just
A
sewing, but yeah.
creative
So it's gonna be
weekend, a
fun.
creative weekend. So we have talked about what you're doing with the event that's coming up in 2 weeks. You all, I'm going to include the
Hmm.
link to the event in the show notes, so you'll get a chance to sign up on Lisa's site. How do people sign up? Do you want them to go to your website, or is there a special?
Yes, if they go to the website culturedexpressions.com, there will be a link you can click on that will take you to Hopin. And what you'll need to do is register on Hopin with just an email address and a password, so you can get into the event when it begins, and look at you can find the full schedule, and you can register, pick your ticket level and all that. That's going to be on the website, and actually it's on the website now. And that's probably the easiest way
Okay.
to do it, is just go to the site and
Okay.
then click on the
So
link.
Hopin is the platform, HOPIN.com. And that is where you would
Yes.
go after you've gone to the website. Then you go to Hopin, you register. And also, there's I like what you described about how you could go from event to event. And I really also like how there's no conflicts. I always find that so hard at a conference or at an event. It's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to
Right.
learn more
Right.
about fusible applique secrets? Or do you want to learn about how to do needle turn applique? And it's like, well, wait a minute. I want to learn
Right.
how to do both, but there's no way. So,
Yeah, and say that's the other thing. I mean, when I'm being that this is the first thing that I'm planning, that's a big virtual event. I wanted to keep it again simple for myself as an organizer, and not have so many options that things that I can't keep them corralled. The next time I may go crazy and do a whole thing, but this is this is one that I'm happy with. I like the fact that people can take part in everything if they decide they wanted to, spend the entire day or however. So I just kept it simple in that respect, where they can kind of jump into everything and get involved and get the most out of it, I guess you can say.
I think that is wonderful. And so this is the big major event. This is going to be a wonderful way, y'all, to get started with the month of May and get started with doing something fun and creative for yourself, where you can learn, you can attend lectures, you can participate in discussions, you can get feedback from professional quilt teachers and artists who do this work for a living. It really is a wonderful thing that you're bringing to the sewing community. And I'm really excited about it. And I'm glad to be able to participate. So thank you for asking me.
Oh, definitely. Like I said, you were my A list. And it was funny because I just was gathering friends and people that I know. And I realized there was such a wealth of knowledge and talent just within people that I talk to every day, or, just kind of interact with. And thinking about structuring that into an event, I was like, wow, this is really great. Where do I go? So it was impressive for me. I was like, wow, this is going to be kind of
I
cool,
think it's going to be
But
very cool. I think it's going to be a good time. And I am so excited about it. And the
mm,
timing is just
thank
perfect.
you.
A nice way to start May and heading out of spring into summer. Like all of
Right,
these things, I
right,
think, as a nice way to transition from one season to another, as well as to inspire us all to think about how we express our creativity and also to have deep and
right.
serious conversations about the future of African textiles. As you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I just think that having these conversations are so important, as well as,
Definitely.
identifying indigenous practices that are at risk, you know?
Right. And we're speaking actually to the artists that are top in their areas. Like I mentioned, the kente weaving, indigo dyeing, and bark cloth in particular. And then we have another artist who's not on that panel, David Kabuka from Uganda. He does a certain type of batik. He's going to talk about that. And there's so much beyond the Ankara, which we
Right, right.
love, and we'll always have Ankara. But just to explore more than that is just, I think it's important to just, there's so much there that, why not take
No,
advantage?
I love
So
it. And I'm grateful to you for taking your time and energy to bring this event forward. I know it's a lot of work. I
thank you.
cannot fully imagine how much work it is. I know I have put on events, like real life events, that have stressed me out beyond no
Hmm.
end. And so I can only
Yep.
imagine all of the work that's required to do this and to pull this off. But I am grateful that you decided to do so.
Well, thank you, Lisa. I thank you for your platform as always. I appreciate it's always fun to talk to you and just in general.
Yeah.
And I just want to invite everybody to come out and support it. Check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have 3 different ticket levels with different perks and things going on. So it's going to be a good time.
Excellent. Okay, y'all, you have heard it
Yes.
here first. Do indeed check out Fabrigasm Live. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to it.
Yay.
And do check the show notes for this episode, and there will be a link to Lisa's shop that will also have the link to the event. So go ahead and get your tickets. There's 3 levels, so you can decide which works best for your budget. But no matter which ticket level you choose, you are going to have a good time.
You know what I was thinking as we were talking? I didn't mention my sponsors.
Yeah,
I
let's
probably
hear
should
some
mention
sponsors.
We have equilter.com.
Mhm.
They sell all kinds of fabrics. They always donate 2% of their profits to
Mhm.
charities, and they're just very like they have a real global sense about them. And Luana, she travels all over, so we vibed over certain things. We have C&T Publishing. They do lots of craft books, sewing books, quilt books, special projects, and special products. And then we have the Modern Quilt Guild is actually a sponsor.
Nice.
So very excited. So far, though, they're the confirmed sponsors, and we're still, confirming some
That's
other ones. So
wonderful. And that helps to defray the cost as well as provide really fun things for the participants. So that's good to know. Excellent. Lisa, this has been so wonderful. Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for taking the time to
likewise,
do it
thank
when I know
you.
you've got to be swamped with so many other things.
But this is part of it. I mean, this is the
This is,
marketing,
there you
right?
go.
So this is,
There you go.
listen, this is more than within the realm of the whole thing. So
Oh, goodness.
yes,
That's excellent.
definitely,
Thank you
definitely.
so much, Lisa, for this conversation. And y'all be sure to check out Fabrigasm Live, which you can find out more about on Lisa's website, culturedexpressions.com, a fantastic brick and mortar shop in Rahway, New Jersey, as well as a wonderful place for virtual shopping experiences. So check her out. I have been happy with every single thing I have ever gotten from there.
Thanks, Lisa.
All right, take care. You've been listening to the Stitch Please podcast, the official podcast of Black Women Stitch, the sewing group where Black Lives Matter. We appreciate you supporting us by listening to the podcast. If you'd like to reach out to us with questions, you can contact us at blackwomenstitch@gmail.com. If you'd like to support us financially, you can do that by supporting us on Patreon, Patreon. And you can find Black Women Stitch there in the Patreon directory. And for as little as $2 a month, you can help support the project with things like editing, transcripts, and other things to strengthen the podcast. And finally, if financial support is not something you can do right now, you can really, really help the podcast by rating it and reviewing it anywhere you listen to podcasts that allows you to review them. So I know that not all podcast directories or services allow for reviews, but for those who do, for those that have like a star rating or just ask for a few comments, if you could share those comments and say nice things about us at the Stitch Please podcast, that is incredibly helpful. Thank you so much. Come back next week and we'll help you get your stitch together.